Today.
Hey, Jose, good morning. Look, there is no overstating the importance of Pennsylvania to this election. You're going to get sick of hearing me say this by November, but it really is that important. And so Governor Josh Shapiro of the state of Pennsylvania could bring something really important to this ticket. You've already seen him out on the campaign trail for Harris over the weekend. He's gotten some endorsements from important, influential Pennsylvania Democrats who the Democrats in Pennsylvania, they really want him to be the VP pick. But when you talk to actual voters, you'll hear the same thing over and over again, which is it's a question about how much a VP can really influence an election. Take a listen to what we heard.
I think it's too up in the air at the moment as to who's going to be selected as the vice president. But I am taking comfort in the fact that there are a lot of excellent choices out there.
Honestly, I feel like what was more important to me was the actual president than the vice president, because you don't see them a lot. They do a good amount behind the scenes, but yeah, honestly, I feel like president is definitely more important to me.
With Shapiro, though, you're getting a few things. Not only a governor from this critically important state, but you're getting somebody who has a record of being a bipartisan. That's something that he campaigned on for governor and something he has really led with here in Pennsylvania. He's known as someone who can bring people from both sides of the aisle together. Of course, Gretchen Whitmer, governor of Michigan, another important state in that blue wall. That would be two women on the ticket, which would be historic. Governor Josh Shapiro would be the first Jewish vice president as well if elected. So a lot of choices right now, and a lot of people vying for that spot now, Jose.
Sasha Burns in Montgomery County, thank you very much. Republican vice presidential nominee, meanwhile, J.D. Vance, is also on the campaign trail today, meeting with donors in Palo Alto, California. Silicon Valley is a familiar place for Vance. He lived there for 5 years, working as a venture capitalist and biotech executive. Joining us now, CNBC's Katie Rooney from Palo Alto. Katie, good morning. What do we know about J.D. Vance's connections with Silicon Valley?
So as you said, he was an investor. He spent about 5 years here in Silicon Valley. He invested in tech companies alongside some of the big names that are also GOP donors. So he has close ties to Peter Thiel, who's one of the PayPal co-founders. If you've ever heard the term PayPal Mafia, there's a group of tech executives who have gone on to do a lot of other things, build other tech companies. Elon Musk is in that group. You've got names like David Sachs, who's also a prolific investor in Silicon Valley. Musk and Sachs have really helped raise the profile of J.D. Vance among sort of the tech community here that started to shift a bit to the right. This is historically a liberal bastion in terms of donations and where they tend to give their support. That tends to be, it's shifting now, and you're seeing that reflected with Elon Musk, for example, supporting and endorsing former President Trump. You've got some of the big tech names that also have ties to Vance, and that really goes back to his days as an investor.
And Kate, so what benefits and how much support has Thiel given to J.D. Vance?
So Peter Thiel is actually among the names who has yet to endorse at least President Trump. He's been a big GOP donor in the past. It's really come in the sense of connections. You've got names that are close to Peter Thiel that are really the ones endorsing him. David Sachs would be the name that comes to mind. But a lot of these GOP relatively new donors, in some cases, I talked to one person who was a Democrat, donated to Democrats for about 3 decades. He said he's now shifting to support and will be at the fundraiser that J.D. Vance is hosting here tonight in Silicon Valley. The reason they're all doing this, and what I hear from some of the big tech investors here, is they see certain regulations that could be changed. Cryptocurrency is a big area where they're pushing for some changes and aren't as happy with the Biden administration. And then the FTC and Lena Khan. There's a lot of hand-wringing over the deal-making process and some of the scrutiny over big deals in the tech space that haven't gotten through. They're looking to change that, and that's why you're seeing some of the switch in support in an area that really has historically leaned to the left here.
Kate Rooney, thank you so very much. It's good seeing you. Appreciate it. With us now to continue our conversation, Victoria de Francesco Soto, Dean of the Clinton School of Public Service at the University of Arkansas and an MSNBC contributor, and Mark McKinnon, former advisor to George W. Bush and John McCain. So, Mark, Trump is getting some pushback for these comments he made over the weekend. Take a listen.
And again, Christians, get out and vote just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians.
Mark, what do you make of this?
Well, I think there's been a bit of an overreaction, hyperbole about the statement, Jose. I think what he's really saying, he's not saying that we're not going to have elections anymore. He's just saying you're going to get everything you want, so there's not going to be any more reason to vote, to be fair. But on your question of the VP pick, I think what's interesting is, as some of the folks said in your broadcast, people don't really make their decisions based on the VP. But I do think that, particularly in a race like this, it can give people confidence or a lack of confidence in the ticket. In this case, with J.D. Vance, I think the problem for Trump is that they picked Vance with the notion that Biden would be the nominee. And so it was like an easy choice, a safe choice, a choice that doesn't expand the GOP tent at all. In fact, maybe contracts it some, but it was a choice that made the base very happy. And so now with Harris as a pick, I think that Trump is really looking at that pick and going, man, we really screwed up because this is a whole different equation, and that's why the Harris pick is important. Again, people are going to vote for Harris, but I think the right pick can give people more confidence and reassurance in that vote for Harris.
Yeah, I mean, Victoria, Vice President Harris and her allies have launched a new line of attack on the Trump-Vance ticket, calling some of what they say are just weird things going on. Listen to this.
I believe the map has changed. Georgia is in play, and Georgia is going to go for the vice president. What the vice president understands is most people, when they wake up in the morning, they're not thinking about their political party or the polls. They're thinking about their job and whether they make enough to support their family.
Well, that was the wrong sound, and I'm sorry about that. The overriding message that we've heard by some of the vice president's allies has been just that Trump and Vance are just plain weird. Victoria, is this kind of a line of attack that could work?
It's a line of attack that can have some inroads with the folks right outside of the edges of the base of the Trump support, right? So the ones who love Trump, they're going to be with him, no matter who his vice presidential pick was. But then there's that chunk of people, I don't think it's necessarily big, but that is pushing themselves to once again, for the third time, hold their nose and vote for Trump. And the likelihood of them being able to, again, for the third time, hold their nose again is really going to be affected by these random comments, by that comment of the clip that you just played earlier about you won't have to vote in another 4 more years, which personally, to me, I'm a little bit more of a nervous Nelly than Mark. It makes me nervous, and especially being a student of Latin America, is I think about Venezuela, who just had elections. Venezuela was the paragon of democracy, not just in Latin America, but globally, and look where it is now. So I think they say really weird things, but then with an undertone of this is a worldview that a lot of these folks share.
It's interesting. And Mark, I want to go back to what you're talking about the pick of J.D. Vance as Trump's, partner on this electoral process. The Wall Street Journal editorial board wrote, quote, an old political saw is that the best VP choice is one who gets applause upon announcement and then is never heard from again. You can tell that doesn't apply to Vance since Trump is being asked if he still believes he made the right choice. So, Mark, how much of a problem is this for the Trump campaign, you think?
That's a great point. And when you've lost the Wall Street Journal as a Republican, that's problematic. The point that they're making there is a good one, which is that he has been not only neutral or not even positive, but he's been a distraction and a negative one at that. The thing that is driving Donald Trump crazy right now, the thing that he hates more than anything is not to be the center of attention, right? And Harris, no matter what your ideology or politics are, has absolutely captivated like every single news cycle since she was effectively nominated. And that's, by the way, likely going to keep happening right up until and through the convention. So she will, in effect, have dominated the headlines for a month, with the exception of the headlines that J.D. Vance has been getting, and those have been across the board all negative. So Donald Trump's getting a double-barrel dose of stuff he can't stand, which is bad press for him and good press for Harris.
And Victoria, meanwhile, Vice President Harris's campaign manager was asked about what her policies on the border would look like. Here's what she had to say.
I think at this point, the policies that are having a real impact on ensuring that we have security and order at our border are policies that will continue.
Do you think, Victoria, the Harris campaign needs to have a specific answer on what Harris policy is at the border, the humanitarian crisis that we have been living through for years now?
So, immigration policy is something that you don't want to get into the weeds about. I mean, really here, it's about solving a problem that has been broken for over 30 years. And I think that she needs to be very clear and very resonant on that. How that is achieved is something that she can address, once after getting into the White House, because it's something that she can't do single-handedly, or any executive can do single-handedly. So I think laying out a firm and clear line and kicking back that notion that she was or is soft on the border is very, very important. And then the devil's in the details and can be hashed out later. So I think for a general audience is draw that line in the sand.
Yeah, Victoria, but then again, the fact that she was early on tasked by President Biden to be behind a study of what the root causes of migration are, do you get it? I certainly get a sense that that hasn't been something that she nor the president have been very forthcoming about. What is it that we have learned about the root causes of migration, and how can that lesson be instituted?
I mean, immigration from time immemorial is push and pull. What's happening in the home country? So I think that is 50% of the equation. And I think you mentioned that, she references that. But given the optics of immigration today and given the humanitarian crisis that we're seeing at the border, I think you have to lead a little bit heavier with understanding the border and the needs of folks as they're looking at our southern border, while saying, but we need to look beyond the short term and the causes leading to that. And I think that's something where the policy wonks like me really dig into, but also understanding what day-to-day Americans are seeing on their TV screen.
Victoria Francisco Soto and Mark McKinnon, great seeing you both. I thank you both for your time. Up next, we are live on the ground in Venezuela after a historic election with massive turnout and millions supporting the opposition. But the Maduro regime declares that Maduro is the winner. One reporter saw at polling stations in Caracas, plus a preview of President Biden's new plan to overhaul the Supreme Court. And overseas, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vows retaliation as he visits the site of a rocket attack over the weekend that killed 12 children. You're watching José Díaz-Balart Reports on MSNBC.
Over 13 million Americans were affected by identity theft in 2022. Your information could be used to open loans, transfer home titles, or even commit crimes.
I had almost 20 accounts opened in my name. It was terrifying. I never dreamed it would happen to me.
Only LifeLock alerts you to the widest volume of threats all in one place. And if you're a victim, LifeLock works to fix it on your behalf, all backed by the $1 Million Protection Package. Enroll now.
The best things in life come in twos. 2 scoops of ice cream, 2 thumbs up. And now, buy any phone when you switch to Consumer Cellular and get 2 months of service free. That's right, 2 months free. All with fast, reliable, nationwide coverage. Make the switch today.
Introducing Allison's Plaque Psoriasis. She thinks her flaky gray patches are all people see.
Otezla is the #1 prescribed pill to treat plaque psoriasis. Over here. Otezla can help you get